Welcome back to English for Grade 11. In the previous episode, we talked about writing and we talked about it as a whole and the previous ways of writing and the tools of writing. And then we discussed grammatical rules and followed by the writing process and how we used writing in the past and nowadays. And if you remember from the previous episode, I talked and mentioned the ballpoint pens. And now we will pay attention more to it in this episode. In this episode, we will talk about the reading comprehension with the summary making with few vocabulary items that will help us and guide us with the passage. Let's pay attention to it. Let's see the vocabulary list as always before we start to understand the words before we read the passage. And that's the list of our vocabulary items. So we have the following. We have the ballpoint pen, and of course I've mentioned that in the previous episode. It's a pen with a tiny ball as its writing point. The ball transfers ink from a cartridge and to the paper. So the ball inside the tip of the pen pushes the ink from the pen itself to the paper. For example, we aren't allowed to write in ballpoint at school, so we have to use pencils. Next one, we have this picture here, so I'm giving my share of work. So let's say if we are working together and this is my fair share of working. So my contribution, it's a noun. It means a gift or payment or to a common fund or collection, and of course it can be related to work as well. For example, her contribution was of immeasurable importance. Her contribution was of immeasurable importance. Let's see the next one, and we have a picture of something to take control of something else. So someone is taking control of someone or something. Okay, so we have a dominant. So it's a verb. It means to have a commanding influence on or to exercise control over. For example, the book is expected to dominate the bestseller lists. So it will take control of the list of the book bestsellers. Okay, let's go to the next one. And we have a person who is taking money or saving money. It's related to money, yeah? So if you go from the words in the box below, we have words are related to money. We have financial and economic. What do you think? It's economic. It's an adjective. It means of or relating to economics or the economy. For example, agriculture used to be the economic backbone of this country. Okay, it used to be, not anymore. So, and this is another obvious example here. So we finished with the economy and we are talking about the financial. Financial is an economic activity concerned with the processing of or relating to finance. It's an adjective, and for example, we use it as the following. We offer financial assistance to students. We offer financial assistance to students. Next one, and we have something that goes together. So we have this technique, the machine use. I'm trying to help you out here. The industrial designs. So it is the industry of using these machines. So it means design related to industry. For example, in Britain, the Design Council gives awards for good industrial design. So the machines are basically used in industrial areas, yeah? Next one, we have the following. So it's an adverb, more than anything else. For example, we import raw materials and energy and export mainly industrial products. So the more than anything else, that's mainly our export. What we export to other countries. So it's a teamwork. We work together and we work together in a good way. So it's a mechanism. The mechanism, a natural or established process by which something takes place or is brought about. For example, the watch mechanism is extremely intricate and very difficult to repair. We have two more words. Is it reliable or socket? So it says dependable. Dependable. You depend on it or depend on him or her. So it's reliable. It means consistently good in quality or performance, able to be trusted. Able to be trusted. For example, my car's not as reliable as it used to be. So it's not good, it's not working. It doesn't have that quality anymore. The final word, of course, is socket. It's a noun. It means a natural or artificial hollow into which something fits or in which something revolves. For example, there is an electric socket in the wall. There is an electric socket in the wall. So those are the vocabulary items for today's episode, and we will go through the reading comprehension. But before we start reading the passage, we have some tips to help and guide you throughout your reading. So first, we have to read the questions before reading the passage. Go through the questions beforehand. It will help and simplify the answers, and you will find them immediately. Number two, read the passage carefully and thoroughly. So after reading the questions, we start reading the passage, and we have to pay attention to details. Deduce the meaning of difficult words through the context. So if you don't know the meaning of a word, don't stop or don't just skip it. Read the sentence again, and you'll probably will know the meaning of that word. 4. While reading the questions, pay attention to the keywords such as best titles, synonyms, antonyms, or refer to. And of course, we'll tell you the meaning of these words. Number 5, repeat the questions as if you are explaining those questions to someone else to make sure you understand the questions. So try to repeat them more than once and try to imagine that you are explaining those questions to your friend, so you make sure that you understand the question carefully and the correct question, you understand it. Number 6, take your time while reading. The choice is given to you to make sure you have chosen the correct one. So the choices that are given, read them carefully more than once just to make sure that you chose the right question or the right answer, of course. You have like multiple choice questions, you have 4 options. Just read them more than once to make sure you understand the options available to you so you can give the best answer. So we have 2 types of questions or groups of questions. We have, first of all, the multiple choice questions, and then we have the productive questions. For the multiple choice questions, we have 5 categories. The first one is the best title or the main idea. So they will ask you about the best title or the main idea. It's either this or that. Or maybe we have the second question, which is the vocabulary. We have 3 categories for this question. We have either a synonym or an antonym and definition or meanings. So the synonym means the closest meaning to that word. The closest meaning to that word. Antonyms is the opposite meaning to that word. So the exact opposite. And the definition, of course, the exact meaning of that word. So they will ask you about these 3. So the word reference is when they provide you with a pronoun, which is he, they, it, she, and so on, and they want you to know who they are talking about. Who is that person, or what is that person or the thing is doing. So the pronoun is referring to something or someone, and we want to know to whom. Okay? Number 4, we have the locating information. So we want to find information from the text. It is implicit. It's clear from the passage itself. We just want to find them. And we have number 5, the true and false information. And they can give you like this question as follows. For example, all of the statements are true except for 1, which is 3 correct and 1 false information. Or maybe all the statements are false except for 1. So we have 3 false information and we have 1 correct statement, and so on. So you have to pay attention to the false or true to know what you want to find. Is it the true answer or the false answer? So now we go to the second category, which is the productive questions, and we have 2. We have explicit questions and we have implicit questions. The explicit questions, which are answers, are clearly mentioned in the text. Just go and underline them and you can write them in your answer sheet. And the implicit questions are not mentioned in the text, and you should understand the meaning from the passage. You understand the question and you write in your own words and your own style. So the answer is not actually written, but it is implied within. Okay? Now let's go to the passage that we are going to read. It is in your book, in your workbook, page 32. We want to read the following passage and then answer the questions below. So, it's about ballpoint pens, a short history. In the early 1940s, a Hungarian journalist called Laszlo Biro visited a newspaper office. He watched the production process and was amazed at how quickly the printing ink dried on the paper. It was then that Biro decided to design a pen which used quick drying ink instead of the normal ink. which traditional fountain pens used and which took a long time to dry. In 1943, Laszlo and his brother, who was a chemist, produced the first bureaus. The pens became an instant success. Mainly because of the ink dried quickly and they were stronger than normal ink pens, but also because they worked in planes at high altitude. The pens were so effective that they were adopted by the Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom, whose crews found them far more reliable during flights than older fountain pens. 2 years later, an American company produced similar pens. Because of the technology involved, these first ballpoint pens were very expensive, at $10 each. In 1949, Marcel Beck, who had previously purchased the patent to the Bureau pen, produced the first cheap ballpoint pens in France. These Beck pens eventually sold on the American market for only 10 cents each. The Beck company has been successfully making ballpoint pens ever since. So successful was Beck's product that the Beck pen has become a recognized icon of modern industrial design, even appearing in museums and galleries as an object of cultural significance. The most important part of the ballpoint pens is the ball. As it moves across a piece of paper, the ball revolves in its socket and transfers ink or transfers quick drying ink onto the paper. This mechanism is very important. If the ball is too tight in the socket, the ball will not move. If it's too loose, the ink will dry up. Ballpoint pens can write in many different situations, but they cannot write upside down because the ink needs gravity to move down on the ball. Although the successful design of the ballpoint is generally attributed to Laszlo Biro, many other attempts were made in the years preceding Biro's design. It has even been argued that Galilei produced a design for the ballpoint pen in the 17th century. So that is our passage. It's a very long passage with 5 paragraphs, but I did it quickly, and you can go back to your book and read from your workbook, page 34. Now let's go through the questions. We have the following. The main purpose of the passage is to what? Is it to talk about the history of ballpoint pens, or to give instructions of how the pen works, or C, give general information about ballpoint pens, or maybe show where the ballpoints were made? So we want to talk about the main idea. Okay, the main purpose. It's of course to give information. That's the correct answer. To give information or general information about the ballpoint pens. Correct. Good job. Let's go to question number 2. So the word amazed in line 2 were in bold, right? So what does it mean? What does amazed mean? We want the meaning of amazed. Is it shocked, interested, hungry, or angry? It was shocked, of course, because he was amazed, shocked. Let's go to question number 3. The word it in the 4th paragraph refers to. So, and if we go back to the passage, it is in the 4th paragraph. The word it refers to what? Does it refer to the pen, the ball, the part, or the paper? Of course, and if you go back, you will see that it was talking about the ball inside the pen. That's the correct answer. Great job. Question number 4. So, what do we understand from the paragraph, from the final paragraph? We want our understanding, yes? So, as the ink falls down because of gravity, the ball doesn't move while writing, or the design of the pen is not appealing, or Galileo Galilei drew using ballpoint pens. What do you think? It's of course A, ink falls down because of gravity. That's the fact that we understood from the final paragraph. Number 5, all sentences are true except for one. So 3 of them are true and 1 false statement. We want to find that false statement. So Laszlo Biro was a journalist, or Biros were weaker than normal pens. The first American ballpoint pens were very expensive. In a ballpoint pen, ink is conveyed to the paper by the rotation of the ball. So of course, Biros were weaker than normal pens. That's not true. Biros were weaker, they were not weaker. Now we go to the productive questions. We want to answer the following questions. When were the first Biros produced? So we go back to the passage and we will find the answer that the first Biros were produced back in 1943. Question number 2. Why were the first bureaus an instant success? So why were they successful? Mainly because of the ink drying up quickly and their quality. Okay, because the ink was something new to them, could dry up very quickly. Question number 3. How much did the first American ballpoint pens cost? So if you go back to the paragraph, you'll see that they were $10 each. So $10 each. Question number 4. Where were big pens first produced? So if you go back to the passage again, you will see that they were first produced in France. Question number 5. How does a ballpoint pen works? You can type your own answer here. If you understand the passage, you can tell me how it works without going back to the passage. Of course, the ball at the tip of the pen revolves in its socket, picking up the ink and placing it onto the paper. Okay? So you can write your own statements here. Now, let's go to the summary making. So when you summarize and you have a passage that you want to give me the main ideas, the summary, you should consider the following, or maybe you should do that. Number 1, you want you to read and understand the question. Number 2, read and understand the paragraph itself clearly and thoroughly. Number 3, there are usually more than 4 answers, you just want 4. Underline 4 of them. Even if there are more ideas, we just need 4. And we want to join the answers using the connectors, the word connectors, like the words we have here. First, second, third, finally, first, also, moreover, in addition, furthermore, and so on. We have a lot of connecting words and we can use them to connect our sentences together to write a beautifully written paragraph. We want to follow the same format. We just want one paragraph. We don't need bullet points and we need to follow the format. So you should do that. Now we want to also to paraphrase. We don't want to copy the same exact words from the paragraph. We want to paraphrase. So how do we paraphrase? We have to make sure we understand the passage in order to paraphrase. We sometimes have to break up or maybe join ideas together. Or maybe we can elaborate or maybe shorten some ideas. Maybe the writer didn't elaborate enough, we can add more examples, or maybe we can remove a lot of examples and we make it shortened. And the main idea has to be maintained. So you don't have to change the main idea or maybe the meaning of the article or the passage. We want to keep the meaning as it is, as truly as it is. So we use our own words. And how do we do that? We can do more than one thing. Number 1, we can change the vocabulary. We can have synonyms, or maybe we can use definitions in other words, or maybe we can use something else. Number 2, we can transform a sentence. Maybe we can use the active sentence, or we can move it to transfer it into the passive sentence, and so on. That will help change focus, okay? Or we can change the word class. What do we mean changing the word class? We can change the word category from verb to noun, from noun to adjective, and so on. And I'm going to give you an example here. Maybe for example, to create, for example, Ahmed creates 1, 2, 3. We said the creation of 1, 2, 3 helps developing the country. So the creation from the word create, that's a noun from the verb create, and so on. That's how we change the word class. Now we want to summarize this passage to that question. How has writing evolved during the years? So how has writing evolved during the years? And that's the passage. Humans have been writing for 5,000 years. Writing first starting in Mesopotamia, where they used to write pictograms to communicate. With these pictures turned into cuneiform symbols which are inscribed on blocks of clay. In 1500 BCE, the Chinese started writing on turtle shells using almost the same types of writing still used in China today. The Phoenicians that then invented an alphabet system, which was then taken by the Romans. The Romans created a system of writing using 26 letters. In the 4th century, the Arabic letter system came and became the second most widely used system. So if we go to the sentences, and these are the main ideas here. So let's see them. So we have a lot of main ideas and we want to use 4. So let's see the first one, the Mesopotamia, where they used to use pictogram to communicate. So first, pictograms were used to communicate in Mesopotamia. Number 2, these pictures turned into cuneiform symbols which are inscribed on blocks of clay. So then pictograms became cuneiform symbols which were written on blocks of clay. 3, the Chinese started using the turtle shell, using almost the same type of writing still used in China today. So later, turtle shells were used by the Chinese to write on using symbols. Number 4, the Phoenicians then invented an alphabet system which was taken by the Romans. Finally, the alphabet system was invented by the Phoenicians and used by other civilizations. And that's the final outcome. To conclude, in this episode, we talked about the reading comprehension and the summary with a few vocabulary items. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.